What if I told you, the world you live in isn't free at all? That every war, every market crash, every leader you thought you chose, was decided in secret rooms long before you ever cast a vote. One man stumbled onto that truth, and what he found was a kill list that could ignite World War III. This is his story. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps these stories alive. Rain hammered against the glass walls of the Geneva Cyberintelligence Center, the storm outside mirroring the storm inside Adrian Keller's mind. Screens glowed across the dim command room, each pulsing with scrolling code, intercepted transmissions, and fragments of encrypted chatter. Keller leaned forward, his dark hair damp from the rain he hadn't even shaken off, his eyes locked on a flashing alert. He had seen plenty of false alarms in his career, but this one felt different. The message had slipped through layers of digital camouflage, routed through servers in 5 countries before surfacing here. Short. Precise. Ruthless.it wasn't a virus. It wasn't ransomware.it was a list, names, dates, coordinates. Keller's chest tightened as he read. These weren't random targets. These were heads of state, presidents, prime ministers, defense chiefs. And the dates were no more than a week away. He pushed back from the console, nearly knocking his chair over. This can't be real. But the more he dug, the worse it became. The file carried UN-level clearance codes, embedded deep into its metadata. Whoever created it wasn't an outside hacker, they were inside the system. A voice broke through his panic. Adrian. He looked up to see Director Annika Roth, her grey eyes sharp, her presence as heavy as the storm. She stepped closer, her heels echoing against the steel floor. Tell me what you've found. Keller hesitated. He had learned never to flinch in front of Roth. She was the kind of leader who measured loyalty by silence as much as by words. But this couldn't wait. It's a kill list, he said, forcing steadiness into his voice. Leaders across Europe, Asia, even the UN Secretary-General himself. Whoever leaked this has access to high clearance channels. This isn't an external breach. It's internal. Roth's jaw tightened. She glanced at the screen, then back at him. Shut it down. Erase the traces. And Adrian, she lowered her voice, do not breathe a word of this to anyone. Not even your team. His brow furrowed. With respect, Director, if this is real, it's bigger than us. We need to alert. Enough. Her voice cracked like a whip. You've done your job. Leave the rest to me. She turned sharply, vanishing down the corridor, her shadow stretching long against the flickering lights. Adrian stared at the list again. His instincts screamed. The way Roth reacted, it wasn't just secrecy. It was fear. And in that moment, Adrian realized something chilling. The Shadow Protocol had already begun. The storm in Geneva had barely broken when Adrian Keller returned to the Cyberintelligence Center the next morning. His eyes burned from a sleepless night, replaying Roth's words over and over. Erase it. Forget it. Leave the rest to me. But as he walked through the glass doors, the silence hit him first. The usual hum of servers, the chatter of analysts, the shuffle of papers, gone. The command floor was empty, screens dark. Adrian's pulse quickened. Hello? His voice echoed through the vast chamber. He rushed to Roth's office. The door was ajar, her desk stripped bare. No files, no monitors, not even her nameplate. It was as if she had never existed. A sharp crack of fear shot down his spine. He sprinted to the server room, hacking into the archives. He searched for her personnel file, communications logs, even security footage from last night. Nothing. Deleted, wiped clean. The director of the Geneva Cyberintelligence Center had simply vanished. Adrian stumbled back, breath shallow. Someone had the power not only to erase digital trails but to erase people. A buzzing sound interrupted his panic. His phone vibrated against his coat pocket. Unknown number. He answered. Keller? The voice was low, urgent, with an accent he couldn't place. You don't know me. But I know what you found. And I know you're in danger. Adrian froze. His eyes darted to the glass walls, suddenly aware of how exposed he was. Who is this? No time. Meet me in Zurich. Hauptbahnhof. East entrance. 2 hours. The line went dead. Adrian stood still, heart pounding. Whoever it was, they knew about the kill list. About Roth. About him. He grabbed his bag, slid the encrypted drive with the kill list into his pocket, and bolted out into the storm-slicked streets. But as he reached his car, headlights flared across the parking lot. A black SUV roared to life, tires screeching against wet pavement. 2 men in suits stepped out, weapons drawn. Adrian dove behind his car just as bullets shattered the windshield. Glass exploded, alarms blared, and adrenaline surged through his veins. He wasn't just chasing a conspiracy anymore. The conspiracy was hunting him. Zurich Hauptbahnhof was a cathedral of steel and glass, its vaulted roof echoing with the constant shuffle of travelers. Trains screeched, announcements rang out in German, French, Italian, and English. To most, it was a normal morning rush. To Adrian Keller, it was a battlefield disguised as a station. He kept his head low, cap pulled down, his coat collar raised. Every shadow felt like a pair of eyes. Every commuter brushing past him could be another assassin. The encrypted drive in his pocket seemed to burn against his leg, a beacon drawing predators closer. East entrance. 2 hours. The voice from the call replayed in his head. Adrian scanned the crowd until his gaze landed on a woman leaning against a column, dark hair tied back, wearing a leather jacket that looked more military than civilian. Her posture was too sharp for a tourist. Her eyes, restless, calculating, locked onto him the moment he hesitated. She moved first. Straight toward him. You're late, she said in accented English, her tone clipped, Eastern European. Adrian studied her. And you are an ally. For now. She glanced over her shoulder. Walk with me. Slowly. They melted into the flow of the crowd, her voice barely above a whisper. My name is Ilara Novak. Former UN Security Task Force. I saw the list before it vanished. Adrian stiffened. So it was real. Real enough that people died for seeing it, she replied. Your director Roth. She was silenced. And if you don't start moving smarter, you'll be next. His jaw clenched. Then tell me who's behind it. Ilara's lips pressed into a thin line. You don't understand. This isn't just a list. It's the Shadow Protocol, a contingency buried deep inside the UN, originally designed to neutralize rogue states. But now it's been hijacked. Someone has twisted it into a kill switch for global leaders. They reached the far platform. She paused, eyes scanning the station's glass mezzanine. And I know who's pulling the strings. Before Adrian could press, her expression hardened. We're not alone. He followed her gaze. 2 men in suits entered from the west gate, their movements sharp, too precise for civilians. Another lingered at the cafe, hand brushing the inside of his jacket. Adrian's pulse spiked. They followed me here. No, Ilara whispered, slipping a compact pistol from beneath her jacket. They followed both of us. The first shot rang out, silencing the station's hum. Panic erupted as commuters screamed and scattered. Adrian ducked behind a bench, Ilara returning fire with precise, controlled bursts. He yanked the drive from his pocket, realizing with a sick jolt, this wasn't just about survival. If the kill list fell into enemy hands, the protocol would be unstoppable. Amid the chaos, Ilara grabbed his arm. We can't stay here. You want answers? Then you follow me. And pray you're ready for the truth. She pulled him toward the departing train just as bullets shattered the glass roof overhead. The train tore through the Swiss countryside, its rhythmic clatter drowning out the echo of gunfire still ringing in Adrian's ears. He sat across from Ilara Novak, breath ragged, eyes darting to every passenger in the carriage. Families, businessmen, students all seemed normal, but paranoia gnawed at him. Elara, calm as stone, kept her pistol hidden under her jacket, gaze fixed out the window. The Alps rolled past in shades of grey and white, a deceptive serenity. Finally, Adrian broke the silence. Start talking. You said you knew who's behind the protocol. Elara's eyes flicked to him. Not yet. First, I need to know you're not part of it. His brow furrowed. Part of what? The Veil, she said. That's what they call themselves now. A faction buried inside the UN, NATO, even intelligence agencies. They were supposed to be a safeguard. Instead, they became a syndicate. Wars, assassinations, regime changes, they decide who lives and who falls. Adrian shook his head. That sounds like conspiracy theory. Her gaze hardened. Tell that to Roth. Or the men who tried to kill you. You think ordinary mercenaries can erase a director's entire existence overnight? The weight of her words sank in. She wasn't paranoid. She was informed. The train slowed into a small alpine town. Elara stood. Come on. We switch here. Adrian followed, tension in every step. They wound through narrow cobblestone streets, past shuttered shops and dim cafes, until Elara led him to a weathered townhouse at the end of a quiet lane. She unlocked 3 deadbolts, guided him inside, and bolted the door. The safe house smelled of dust and old books. Maps lined the walls, red pins marking capitals across the globe. A table in the center was covered with files, photographs, burner phones, and encrypted drives. Elara dropped her bag and gestured for Adrian to sit. Welcome to what's left of my life. He scanned the walls, recognizing faces, prime ministers, generals, CEOs. Some circled in red, some crossed out. His stomach tightened. Targets? Elara nodded grimly. Executed, all under the protocol. And it's accelerating. She pulled a folder and slid it across the table. Look at this. Inside were classified communiques, stamped with UN clearance. Patterns emerged: covert operations, destabilized governments, assassinations dressed up as accidents. And at the bottom, a directive for the elimination of 7 leaders in the coming week. Adrian's throat went dry. This is the same list I intercepted. Her voice softened, but carried an edge. And it will be carried out unless we stop it. He leaned back, mind racing. So why me? Why pull me into this? Elara's eyes locked on his. Because you're the leak, Adrian. His heart stopped. What? You were the one who stumbled onto it. You weren't meant to. That makes you dangerous to them, and to me. If you're clean, you're my only chance. If you're not, her hand brushed the pistol at her hip. I end this here. The room went still. Adrian felt the weight of her stare, the faint click of her pistol's safety ready to flip. He realized he had only one chance to prove he wasn't the enemy, while every instinct screamed that trust might kill him. The silence inside the safe house was suffocating. Adrian sat rigid, palms open on the table, eyes fixed on the barrel of Elara's pistol. Her grip was steady, but beneath her steel composure, he sensed the weight of hesitation. I'm not your enemy, Adrian said, his voice low, deliberate. If I was part of this veil, why would I have exposed the list? Why would I be here, bleeding and hunted? Elara's jaw tightened. Because infiltration is their specialty. They use pawns, sacrificial pieces. You could be a diversion. Adrian leaned forward, steadying his breath. Then test me. Ask me something only an outsider would answer wrong. Her eyes narrowed. She studied him for a long moment, then slowly lowered the pistol, though she didn't holster it. Fine. But you don't get my trust. You earn it. Relief washed through him, though his pulse still thundered in his ears. Elara turned to the map wall, pointing to the red pins. These aren't random. Each leader on the list is someone who resisted Veil influence, who refused to bend policies, arms deals, or resources. That's why they're marked. Remove them, and Veil controls the board. Adrian exhaled. Which means, if we can warn them, her sharp laugh cut him off. You think we can just send an email to a prime minister? The Veil has their own people inside every Security Council. Any warning we send is intercepted before it reaches them. He frowned. Then how do we fight back? Before Alara could answer, the lights flickered. A faint hum rose in the walls, followed by the unmistakable click of encrypted comms activating. Adrian spun toward the table. A burner phone lit up, vibrating. Alara cursed under her breath. We're burned. The phone flashed a single message across its cracked screen. Adrian Keller. Alara Novak. Your choices have already been calculated. Stop running. Adrian's blood went cold. How the hell? Glass shattered. A smoke grenade clattered across the floor. Down. Alara shouted, kicking the table over as a barricade. The room filled with acrid white smoke, choking their lungs. Shadows stormed through the windows, black-clad operatives moving with military precision. Adrian ducked as bullets tore into the walls. He grabbed Alara's arm, dragging her behind the stairwell. They knew our names. Our location. Everything. Her eyes burned through the haze. Then someone fed them. The implication sank in like ice. There was a traitor. Either someone in Alara's old unit, or worse, someone inside Geneva who had tracked Adrian from the moment he opened the file. The floor above creaked. More boots. They were being surrounded. Alara reloaded, her voice sharp. This safe house is compromised. We run, or we die. Adrian nodded, gripping the encrypted drive tighter. As they crashed through the back door into the icy night, he couldn't shake the thought clawing at his mind: the betrayal wasn't coming. It had already happened. Snow whipped against their faces as Adrian and Alara sprinted through the narrow backstreets of the Alpine town. The safe house behind them burned, its windows glowing with fire and muzzle flashes. The night air was filled with the wail of sirens, but Adrian knew better than to hope for rescue. The sirens weren't coming for them. They ducked into an abandoned rail depot, the air thick with rust and oil. Alara slammed the door shut, bracing it with a steel pipe. Adrian leaned against a wall, gasping for breath. They knew everything, he said, voice ragged. Our names. Our location. Even the safe house. That means they're inside your circle. Or mine. Alara pulled a portable terminal from her bag, its screen flickering to life. Then we find the leak. Adrian crouched beside her. How? Her fingers flew across the keyboard. The Shadow Protocol runs on a network separate from official UN systems. No one admits it exists, but I've been tracking fragments of its traffic for years. Ghost signals. Encrypted bursts that vanish as quickly as they appear. Lines of code danced across the screen, maps overlaying Europe with dots of pulsing red. I call it the Ghost Network, she continued. And if we can ride one of these signals, it might lead us to whoever's orchestrating the protocol. Adrian's instincts screamed at the risk. Tracing encrypted traffic could expose their location further. But what choice did they have? Do it, he said. Alara's jaw set. She launched a trace, riding the signal across hidden relays. The dots flickered: Berlin, Warsaw, London. Then one steadied, glowing brighter than the rest. Zurich. Adrian's blood chilled. Back where we just were. Alara frowned. No. Look closer. She zoomed in. The node pulsed from beneath the Swiss Federal Palace, the Parliament building itself. Adrian's mind reeled. You're saying yes, Alara said grimly. The Veil isn't hiding in shadows. They're inside governments. Sitting in offices. Drafting policies. Before the weight of the revelation could sink deeper, the screen flickered, then froze. A message appeared in bold white letters: Hello, Adrian. Adrian's heart pounded. The letters shifted: We warned you. The terminal sparked violently, the screen shattering in a burst of smoke. Elara cursed, slamming it shut before it fried the circuits. "They know we're digging," she hissed. The rail depot's windows suddenly glowed red, laser dots dancing across the glass. Adrian's stomach dropped. "Snipers, they're already here." Elara grabbed his hand, dragging him toward the back exit. Bullets shattered the glass, tearing into the rusted beams around them. They dove through a broken maintenance hatch, crashing into the snow below. As they scrambled into the darkness, Adrian clutched the encrypted drive tighter. For the first time, the truth settled heavy on his chest. The Shadow Protocol wasn't just a conspiracy. It was a government. The storm hadn't let up. Snow lashed against the windshield of the stolen SUV as it roared up the winding mountain road. Adrian's hands were steady on the wheel, but his mind was a battlefield. Each gust of wind carried the echo of that message. "Hello, Adrian. We warned you." Elara sat beside him, nursing a bruise on her shoulder from their escape. She stared at the drive clenched in Adrian's hand. "That thing," she muttered, "is a death sentence if they know we have it." Adrian said nothing. His eyes fixed on the serpentine road ahead, but his thoughts were elsewhere. Zurich. Parliament. The Veil in plain sight. If they had infiltrated governments, then anyone, any contact, any ally could be compromised. They reached a secluded chalet, buried deep in the mountains. A rendezvous point. The place had been secured by one of Adrian's oldest contacts, a man who owed him his life. Inside, the warmth of a crackling fire greeted them. A figure emerged from the shadows, Lucas Brandt, a fellow operative Adrian had served with years ago. Sharp jawline, weathered eyes, the kind of man who wore his scars with pride. "Adrian," Lucas said with a grim smile. "It's been too long." Adrian exhaled, finally allowing himself to believe they'd found safety. He clasped Lucas's hand firmly. "Not long enough, old friend." But Elara didn't share Adrian's relief. She kept her distance, eyes narrowing as Lucas poured them drinks. Something in his calm, measured movements set her on edge. They sat around the fire, tension thick. Adrian handed over the encrypted drive. "We need this cracked. It's tied to the Ghost network." Lucas studied the drive, rolling it between his fingers. His lips curved ever so slightly. "The Ghost network, you say? You always did chase phantoms." Elara's gaze sharpened. "You know the name?" Lucas shrugged. "I've heard whispers. Everyone in the shadows has." Adrian leaned forward. "Can you help us or not?" Lucas's eyes flicked to Elara. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "I can. But first, why don't you tell me what you've already uncovered?" The room went still. Elara's hand hovered near her concealed pistol. Adrian's instincts, honed by years of betrayal and bloodshed, began to scream. Lucas wasn't just fishing for intel. He was stalling. "Lucas," Adrian said slowly, voice low and dangerous. "Who are you working for?" The smile vanished. Lucas's hand moved quicker than thought, pulling a suppressed pistol from beneath his jacket. The barrel leveled at Adrian's chest. "Drop it," Lucas hissed, eyes flicking to Elara. "Both of you. Now." Elara froze, her suspicion confirmed. Adrian's jaw tightened, fury burning in his veins. "You sold out," he spat. "After everything we bled for?" Lucas's expression hardened. "This isn't about loyalty, Adrian. It's survival. The Veil isn't an enemy you fight. It's a system you join, or you're crushed beneath it." He gestured with the pistol. "Hand me the drive. Walk away. Live." Adrian's blood ran cold. The betrayal cut deeper than any bullet. Lucas, his brother-in-arms, was part of the very machine they were fighting, but Adrian wasn't ready to surrender. His hand tightened around the drive. His eyes locked with Elara's, a silent exchange passing between them. "We don't give this up. Not now. Not ever." Then, without warning, Elara knocked over the glass of whiskey, shattering it across the floor. Lucas flinched, just for a second. But that second was all Adrian needed. He lunged, the chalet erupted in chaos, shouts, gunfire, the crackle of flames as the fight turned the safe haven into a war zone, and as the smoke thickened, Adrian realized the bitter truth: the double cross wasn't an accident. It was inevitable. The night air outside the chalet cut like knives. Snow whirled in furious spirals, and the mountain was cloaked in blizzard-dark silence. Adrian and Elara burst through the shattered back door, lungs burning, boots sinking deep into the drifts. Behind them, Lucas's voice roared, orders barked into a comms device. They're heading north. Don't let them reach the ridge. Adrian clutched the drive tight to his chest as he and Elara sprinted into the frozen abyss. Gunfire cracked in the distance, muffled by the storm but too close for comfort. Muzzle flashes flickered like fireflies in the dark, hunting them. Elara's breath came in ragged bursts. They were waiting for us. Lucas wasn't alone. No, Adrian growled, pulling her behind a jagged outcrop of rock. He was never just one man. The veil always plants webs. Through the sheets of snow, black figures emerged, armed operatives, faces hidden behind thermal goggles. Their formation was flawless, cutting off escape routes with military precision. This wasn't a ragtag kill team. It was a unit. They want the drive, Elara hissed. Adrian's jaw tightened. Then they'll have to bury me with it. He reached under his coat, pulling a compact signal jammer from his belt. Flicking it on, the device emitted a low hum, scrambling enemy comms within a small radius. The hunters froze for a moment, disoriented. That was enough. Move. Adrian barked, dragging Elara toward the tree line. They plunged into the forest, branches whipping against their faces, snow collapsing under their boots. The mountain became a labyrinth, every path twisting, every sound amplified. Behind them, shadows gave chase, silent and relentless. A shot rang out. Bark exploded inches from Elara's head. She stumbled, catching herself against a tree. Adrian whirled, firing back, his muzzle flash illuminating the frozen fury on his face, but for every man he dropped, two more emerged from the storm. They were herding them, not just hunting, but pushing them somewhere. Elara shouted over the storm. They're driving us into a trap. I know, he snapped, dragging her through the trees. Which means the only way out is straight through. They broke from the forest onto a narrow ridge. Below them stretched a valley of ice, a frozen river winding like a silver vein through the white. Above, the storm tore at the sky, and waiting at the far end of the ridge, silhouettes. More soldiers. Dozens. The veil's net was closing. Adrian's mind raced. Outnumbered, outgunned, nowhere to run. Unless he spotted it. A maintenance cable stretched across the valley, a rusted steel line used for old supply carts, swaying in the wind. Risky. Insane. But alive. Elara, he said, pointing. That's our way out. Her eyes widened. That thing. In this storm? We'll die before we're halfway across. Better to gamble with the storm, Adrian said, voice steel, than to surrender to them. The hunters crept closer, tightening the noose. Adrian pulled a climbing harness from his pack, always prepared, always calculating. He strapped it around Elara, clipped her to the line. You go first, he ordered. What about you? I'll cover us. Then follow. Elara hesitated, fear in her eyes. But there was no time. With a trembling breath, she hooked onto the line and shoved off. The storm swallowed her, the cable swaying violently as she slid across the abyss. Adrian turned back, gun raised, fire spitting into the snowstorm as shadows closed in. Each shot bought Elara another second. Each second, a miracle. But as he clipped himself to the line, a voice cut through the blizzard. A voice he knew. Adrian. Lucas. Standing at the tree line, pistol in hand, face ghostly under the night sky. You can't run from this, Lucas shouted. The Vale already owns the board. Hand over the drive, and maybe they'll let you live. Adrian's jaw clenched. Maybe they'll let me die slower, you mean? He shoved off the ledge. The world vanished beneath him, only the howling storm, the trembling cable, and the abyss yawning wide. Bullets whizzed past, sparks flashing on steel halfway across. Adrian dared a glance back. Lucas stood there, not firing, not moving, just watching, as if certain this was already over, and for the first time, Adrian wondered if Lucas was right. The cable groaned under Adrian's weight, metal shrieking against the storm's fury. Snow blasted his face, icy needles tearing at his skin as the abyss yawned beneath him, hundreds of feet of nothing but jagged ice and death ahead. Through the blur of snow, he caught glimpses of Alara. She dangled from the line, swaying violently as the storm tossed her like a rag doll. Her terrified cries were ripped away by the wind. Behind, muzzle flashes lit the ridge. Bullets hissed past Adrian, one striking the cable with a spark that rattled through his bones. He tightened his grip, muscles screaming as he forced himself forward. Every second felt like a lifetime. Then the cable snapped, the world tilted. A metallic crack split the night, and suddenly Adrian was plummeting, weightless, the storm swallowing him whole. The line twisted wildly, half of it torn loose from the ridge. He swung in a deadly arc toward the valley floor. Alara, he shouted, voice breaking. Her scream pierced the storm as her harness slipped, her body flung into the void. But in the chaos, Adrian lunged. His hand shot out, fingers clawing at empty air, then closing, impossibly, around her wrist. The force nearly tore his arm from its socket. Pain seared through his shoulder as they dangled together, spinning above the frozen abyss. Alara's wide, terrified eyes locked onto his. Don't let go, she cried. I won't. Adrian snarled through gritted teeth. The cable sagged, unraveling strand by strand. Each snap echoed like a countdown to death. They had seconds, maybe less. Adrian's mind raced, searching for any escape, any chance. Below them, the frozen river stretched like a sheet of glass. Thin, brittle, but maybe it could break their fall. Alara, when I say now, cut your harness. Her eyes widened in horror. What? That's suicide. It's survival, Adrian growled. Trust me. The last strand of cable snapped, and they dropped. Wind roared in their ears. The valley surged upward in a blur of white and black. Adrian tightened his grip around Alara, twisting his body to shield her. The ice rushed up like a wall, then shattered beneath them with a deafening crack. They plunged into freezing darkness. Water engulfed them, knives of cold stabbing their lungs. Adrian fought against the current, dragging Alara upward with desperate strength. His vision blurred, chest burning, every instinct screaming to breathe. Then, they broke the surface. Gasping, choking, clinging to jagged edges of ice, they crawled onto the fractured riverbank, shivering violently, breath misting in the air. Alara collapsed beside him, coughing up water, her body trembling uncontrollably. We should be dead, she whispered. Adrian forced himself to sit, his body screaming in pain. The Vale, they don't get to write our ending. Not yet. But as he looked up, his heart sank. On the ridge above, silhouetted against the storm, stood Lucas. Motionless. Watching even from this distance, Adrian could feel the weight of his gaze. Not anger. Not triumph. Something colder, inevitability. Alara followed his eyes, her face pale. He knows where we'll go next. He's letting us run. Adrian's hands clenched into fists, ice cracking beneath his grip. Then we don't run. We strike first. He turned, staring into the storm-swept horizon, where the faint glow of city lights bled through the night. Zurich. The seat of the Vale's power. The abyss hadn't killed them. But what lay ahead might. The storm gave way to dawn. Pale light bled over Zurich, turning glass towers into spires of fire. The city hummed with life, oblivious to the war brewing beneath its streets. Adrian and Elara stood on a rooftop overlooking the United Nations Annex, soaked in shadows. Their bodies were battered, clothes still stiff with frozen river water, but their eyes were carved with resolve. Between them, the encrypted drive glinted. Within it lay the Veil's true design, lists of leaders, corporations, entire nations pulled like marionettes on invisible strings. If the world saw this, it wouldn't just expose corruption. It would ignite revolt. Elara adjusted the rifle slung across her back. Her voice trembled, not with fear but with conviction. Once we do this, there's no going back. There never was, Adrian replied, sliding a fresh magazine into his sidearm. His jaw tightened. We burn them out tonight. Or we die trying. A stolen ID badge and 2 silenced pistols got them past the first checkpoint. Beyond, the annex opened like a labyrinth of steel and marble, cold corridors lit by sterile white light, cameras swiveling like watchful eyes. Elara hacked the security terminal while Adrian kept guard, muscles taut, every sound amplified in his ears. Seconds stretched into lifetimes until the locks disengaged with a click. They slipped inside the Veil's inner sanctum. The chamber was vast, lined with screens glowing blue. On them, maps of the world shimmered with data, troop movements, market crashes, assassinations disguised as accidents. A digital throne room for those who puppeteered nations. At its center stood Lucas. His figure was bathed in the glow of the monitors, pistol in hand, expression calm as if he'd been expecting them all along. You made it further than I thought, Lucas said softly. His eyes moved to Adrian, then to Elara. But you still don't understand. This isn't control. It's stability. Without us, the world collapses. Adrian's grip tightened on his weapon. You're not stabilizing. You're enslaving. Lucas tilted his head, almost pitying. You think the public can handle truth? They'd burn everything down. The wars we prevent, the markets we balance, the leaders we install, it keeps the machine turning. You want to kill the machine? Fine. But don't pretend you're saving anyone. Elara stepped forward, voice sharp. Maybe the world deserves to burn if it's built on lies. Lucas's eyes narrowed. Then you've chosen chaos. The air shattered as gunfire erupted. Muzzle flashes strobed against steel walls, bullets sparking off metal. Adrian dove behind a console, returning fire with brutal precision. Elara flanked left, her rifle roaring, driving Lucas into cover. The fight was savage, close quarters, every shot deafening, every breath a gamble. Lucas moved like a phantom, years of training etched into each motion. He wasn't just an enemy. He was Adrian's equal. The 2 men collided in a violent hand-to-hand struggle, weapons clattering across the floor. Fists cracked bone, boots slammed ribs. You should have joined me, Lucas roared, slamming Adrian against a console. Together, we could have reshaped the world. Adrian spat blood, eyes blazing. The world doesn't need gods in shadows. It needs light. With a surge of fury, he drove a hidden blade into Lucas's side. Lucas staggered, breath shuddering, but his hand clamped around Adrian's throat, squeezing with monstrous strength. Elara. Adrian choked. A single shot cracked the air. Lucas's grip faltered. His body slumped, collapsing to the floor with a dull thud, eyes glassy but strangely peaceful silence. The Veil's chamber hummed with data, waiting. Elara's hands shook as she inserted the drive into the main terminal. Adrian staggered beside her, bruised and blooded, but standing lines of code filled the screens, a storm of truth unleashing itself into the world. Bank accounts. Covert ops. Names of leaders controlled like pawns. The machine's black heart, exposed for all to see. Once this uploads, Elara whispered, they'll never hide again. Adrian nodded. His chest ached with every breath, but his eyes held steel. Then let it burn. The final bar ticked complete. The truth was free outside, sirens wailed. The city stirred. The first ripples of revolution spread like fire on oil. Adrian and Alara slipped into the dawn, vanishing into the chaos they had unleashed. The world they knew was gone, but at last, it was honest.